What is culture is still debatable. Different sciences have a different approach to the topic of culture. As I said, classic anthropology, which was the first approach to the study of culture, often focused on the surface of the onion. Classic anthropologists would study institutions, they would study symbols and their meanings, they would study practices. All these are visible. Today, cross-cultural psychology is one of the biggest fields that studies culture, and cross-cultural psychology focuses on what is inside the onion, or more precisely, what is inside people's heads. It focuses on values, beliefs, attitudes, feelings, whatever we have in our minds. And these different focuses depend on what methodologies can be used in a particular cultural environment. For example, if you try to use the methods of cross-cultural psychology, questionnaires, if you give a questionnaire to people in a society where they cannot read and write, even though such societies are rare today, but they were quite common 100 years ago, you can imagine that it would be very difficult. They wouldn't be able to read the questionnaire. Even if you read the questions to them, they may not be able to make sense of them. But today, almost everybody all over the world can read and write, and the methods of cross-cultural psychology work well. This is an example of classic anthropology focusing on the surface of the onion. This is a picture of people, again, from Papua New Guinea, performing a traditional dance. And for a classic anthropologist, it is interesting to understand why they dress like this, why they do these dances, what they expect from this ritual. Modern anthropology, however, focuses on questionnaires that can reveal what is inside people's minds. For example, this is a study done regularly across Muslim nations. Anthropologists and sociologists would like to know what people in Muslim societies think about harsh punishments in different situations. For example, do you approve of stoning people who commit adultery? Do you approve of whippings and cuttings off of hands for theft and robbery? And do you agree that people who leave the Muslim religion deserve the death penalty? These questions are asked regularly across samples of Muslim nations, and the results are always similar. We see that in some Muslim nations there is high agreement with these statements, for example in Egypt and Pakistan. In other Muslim nations, the views of the local publics are much more liberal. For example, in Turkey and in Lebanon, you see that they have a very different culture. And one interesting implication of this is that these views are obviously not generated by religion, because all these societies are Muslim societies. They all believe in Islam and they all define themselves as Muslims. But we see some large differences in this respect between them. So the differences come from something else, not religion. And today we know that what creates cultural differences is not different religions, Christian versus Muslim, Buddhist, Hindu, and so forth. It's mostly because different nations have different levels of economic development and different levels of education. The more educated and wealthy a particular nation is, the more liberal the views of the local public become.